Hi guys, my name is Kingsley Ezabosi, and today I'll be showing us a quick training guide on how to successfully migrate users' email, calendar, and contacts from Google Workspace to Office 365. So basically, this process is going to be very straightforward and will be self-explanatory. Okay, so there are certain processes that people possibly they are not aware of when carrying out such kind of migration. So it's actually very important that we are able to understand these processes very well so that whenever we are carrying out different migration from Google to Office 365, we are going to be self-confident, at least knowing that yes, this is going to be a very successful migration. All right, so I will just go straight into it. So I have about 5 users that I will be migrating from Google Workspace to Office 365, and those users are, I have Patty, I have David, I have Nestor, I have Joanna, and I have mig.admin. All right, so I'll just go straight into the process. So first and foremost, when you talk about Google Workspace migration, what comes to your mind is you are going to have to migrate the entire customer's tenant from the source, which is Google, to destination, which is Microsoft 365, right? So having looked at or having understood that this is the concept or this is what the customer wants, now we then have to set up different prerequisites to ensure that this type of migration is successful. So the first thing we'll have to do is to create the same set of attributes. So if the customer is actually looking forward to, so I would just assume that the customer, what they want to do is to basically replicate what they have in Google Workspace to Microsoft 365. All right. So that's the process or that's the phase that we're going to actually be looking at in this very demo. So now the first thing you have to do is to go to the customer's domain, right? You go to settings, go to domains, all right? You then have to confirm or verify that this domain has been set up, okay? So that's the first thing. You have to confirm and verify that the domain of the customer has already been set up very well. So this very tenant is cloudinsights.ro, and then I have the domain already set up here, cloud insights, okay, .ro, and it's very healthy. So in this process, we're going to have to just go straight into it and then proceed with the migration, right? So now I have the 4 users I would like to use for this migration. I have Patty, I have David, I have Nestor, I have Joanna, and I have Meg, right? So in my target tenant, I already did set up these users prior to starting this video. So I already did set up these users. Of course, it's a very pretty one or easy one that we can all do. Just set up the users: Nestor, Mig, Patty, Joanna, and David. All right. So that's the first thing. So after you verify the domain, the txt record, so you have to verify the domain first. So after verifying the domain, we then have to ensure that these users are already set up in the Microsoft Admin Center, and of course they should be licensed, because if they are not licensed, this very process will not be able to will not be completed. So that is the second phase. So the next phase of this very migration, or what we are going to have to consider, is having to navigate to the Exchange Admin Center, where we're going to have to set up the migration badge, right? For this very migration. So I'll just click on Accelerator. So I'll just allow it to load. So it's coming up. And then from here, let's see, okay, it just came up. So just go straight to migration. When you get to migration, we're going to add a new migration batch, right? So what is the migration? We're going to give you the migration name and we would say Google Workspace, Google Workspace migration. Okay, let me see. Google Workspace migration. All right. So now this is where you're going to select, you're migrating to Exchange Online, of course. So just select next. What is the migration type? Google Workspace email migration. So just select next. So at this point, we have two means or processes of carrying out this very migration from Google to Office 365. I'm usually of the opinion that I love going through the manual process to configure the Google Workspace, because if you go through the manual process, you'll be able to understand the in-depth, what and what will be done in order to arrive at this phase before you can proceed to the next phase. But the automated process, once you just click on start, it's going to create the Google project for you. After creating the Google project, it's going to create the service accounts, and it's going to create the service key, and it's going to enable all APIs. All you just have to do is to impute the client ID and the auth scope command, not like a command, but it's like a Microsoft article where we have to copy a set of information or data and then impute it inside the domain wide delegation, which is also part of what will be activated when you are using automated process, right? But I love going through the manual so that if anything happens, I would be able to retrieve my step to know where and where I went wrong. So now we'd have to just go to console.cloud.google.com, right? So let me just go straight console.cloud.google.com. Okay, let me see console.cloud. Oh, sorry, I've seen the mistake. This should be double O. All right, so it's gonna have to load and it's going to tell me to verify my credentials, and yes, just impute my credentials. So it's taking me to the cloud platform. All right, so I'll just have to accept terms and conditions, and okay, I'll just click on agree. Okay, so now once you've gotten to this process, right, the first thing you would have to do is to create a new project. Okay, so it's actually very important for you to create a new project, especially when you are trying to carry out this very set of migration. It's very important. However, we also have a process where you would have to first of all activate, okay, activate this very cloud migration setup, where you would have to select, okay, my company is a small size, where you have to opt in for a 300 bonus free trial, okay, free trial, and then before you can be able to proceed further in creating projects. So this is actually very important, especially if you are looking forward to creating service accounts. Okay, so this is actually very, very important. All right, so I'm just going to proceed to complete this process. Okay, let me see, just go straight there. Okay, so I'm just going to complete this process and then we are going to come back to we're going to come back to creating the project for this very migration. All right, so I'm just going to pause the video, complete this process, and then I'll come back to us. All right, so I have been able to complete the information required, and then once I did that, it brought me to this very view, okay, where I would have to select what brought you to Google Cloud. I'll just say other. I'll just click on next. I'll just say other. Click on next. Describes your role. So I'll just say IT director and manager. I'll just click on done. Okay, so at this point, I would have to now activate full accounts. All right, I will have to activate full accounts. I'll go ahead to activate. All right, great. So without this very activation, you are going to find it very difficult to creating especially service accounts. All right, so it's very important for you to complete this, and once you've completed this, you'll be given a $300 credits, okay, to use in Google platform. Of course, there are other things you can actually do on this Google Cloud platform: provisioning virtual machines, having to set up different clusters and all that. But that's on the side, right? So now, what we'll be focusing on is the migration. So I'll just click on my first project, and then I'll click on new projects. So when I click on new projects, it's going to ask me, what do I want to name this project? I'll just call it M365 migration. Okay, so yes, let me just confirm M365 migration. So I'll just click on create. Other things are okay. I'll just click on create. So it will be creating my new projects. All right. So once it is done creating my new project, I will just have to select the project's M365 migration, which is this one on top. So it's going to take me to that view. All right, so once it takes me to that view, I will then have to, okay, let me just click got it. I'll then have to click here. I'll then go to I am, and then click on service accounts. So that's the next phase, creating your service accounts. All right, so I'm going to just create a new service account. I'm just going to create a new service account, and what am I going to name this service account? I will just name it as service accounts, just the same name. All right, so let me see service, yeah, I see account. All right, so that is it. So once I'm done, I'll just click on create and continue, and then inside the role, I'll just click on currently used and then select owner, and then click on continue. All these options, just leave it as they are, and then click on done. So now it has created a service account for you. All right, it has created a service account for you. So the next thing you would do is to now copy out this, the client's ID, the key. So it's very important because it's going to be required in the later phase of this migration. So I have my client's ID. I'll just paste it there, and then I'm going to click on the service account I just recently created. So what's going to ask me is I'll just proceed to keys. I'll then have to create a new key. So when I click on create a new key, I'm going to create a JSON script, right? This also will be used during the later part of this video. All right, so I'll just click on create. So I have created the JSON script. So I'll just click on close. So once I have clicked on close, the next thing I'm going to do now is to enable the APIs, okay? The Google API, where I'll have to enable the email, the contacts, and the calendar. So there are certain mistakes that people actually do, or migration engineers do, in terms of having to enable the service APIs. It's very important to enable the service APIs. However, some may decide to enable 3, while some may decide to enable 4. So in some cases, when you enable the 3 service APIs, which is the email, the calendar, and the contacts, maybe when you're trying to run the migration, you would encounter a bit of error or some errors, right? Now, how do you resolve this? there are four main APIs you need to enable in order to ensure a successful migration. So you need to enable those four APIs if you would like to have a successful migration, okay, from Google to Office 365. So let me just go straight. I will just paste this cloud console.cloud.google.com. So I'm going to enable Gmail. So these are the APIs. I'll just click on Gmail API. I'll click on enable. So once it has enabled, I'll still go back again. I'll go back again to enable contacts. Okay, it's enabled. I'll click on library. I'll select contacts API. I'll click on it, contacts. I'll click on enable. I'll go back to library and I'll type calendar API. So that's also very important. Okay, let me see. Calendar API. Okay, so I'll just click on it. I'll just click on enable. And then the last one, which is also part of the APIs you need to enable, is called the people API. The people API. So it's very important that you also enable this. So in some cases, some migration engineers just enable the three, leaving behind the people API. So when they now run into issues, they will now be forced to enable the last API. Okay, so that is it. So we've been able now to enable the four main APIs, right? Now the next thing we are going to do is to create a new domain-wide delegation. All right, so I already have the link, so I'll just copy it and then I'll paste it here. So I would have to create a new domain-wide delegation. All right, so I'll just click on new, where it's going to ask me for the client ID. You remember the client ID we copied out, which is this. I'll just right click on copy, paste it here. Now the auth scope authentication, this is something we'd have to get from the Microsoft portal, right? The Microsoft website. So I will just check and then I'll search for it. Google Workspace to Microsoft 365. Microsoft 365. Okay, so this is it. This is the link, and then I'll just say, let me search for OAUT. Okay, let me see. Perform Google Workspace migration prerequisites. Just check. Don't worry, I will still provide the link to us. Okay. Okay, it's not this. So let me just check. Have to check to know the very one. Okay, look at it here. I think this is it. I think this is it. Let me see. Perform manual Google Workspace. Okay, I think this is it, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, let me see. That is not it. Okay, look at it here. So this is the link here. So this is the link. Manually configure G Suite migration. Okay. So let me see. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this. Okay, I'm going to have to copy this and then I would have to paste it in the domain-wide delegation. All right. Okay, copy, and then I would navigate to the where I have the auth scope, right? The auth scope, and then I would paste it here, and then I'll click on authorize. So I'm just gonna give it some time. It's gonna authorize. So once it has successfully authorized, you can see the two of them are there already. Okay. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I will navigate back to my Google Workspace, and then I'll click on Next because that's all I need for now. I'll click on Next, and it's going to ask me select endpoint. I said no, I'm going to create a new migration endpoints. Okay, so on these new migration endpoints, I will um, just type migration. Okay, migration and let me see endpoints migration and points. Okay, just type new migration endpoints so it will differentiate should there be any other one there. So I'm just going to leave these values as they are. I'll click on next. So here I'm going to now input the email address of my super admin account. By the way, if you are making use of the Google Workspace tenant to Office 365, you need to be a super administrator, all right? You need to be a super administrator before you can be able to complete this process, all right? So I'll just go copy my email address from Google. I'll then paste it here. Now, the JSON script that I had earlier downloaded, I would have to import the JSON script, all right? So just click on it and then I'll click on imports. Okay, so it's already in download. I'll just click. So I'll click on next. So I'm going to give you some time. It's going to have to create a migration endpoints. Okay, so it has created a new migration endpoints for this very project. So I'll just click on next. So here is the main is the part where you would have to now select the users you want to migrate from Google to Office 365. All right. So I will just use an Excel sheet. This process requires an Excel sheet, and then I'll click. I'll then have to maximize, right? So once I maximize, I'll come to the first column and I'm going to say email address. Okay. Just going to say email address. And here I'm going to say username. Okay. So that is it. I'll just expand it. So I may not be able to start typing these emails one by one. All right. So what I'm just going to do is I will just go back to export these users. All right. So let me just download users. Okay. Google CSV or 5 users. We just click on show all currently selected columns. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'll just select the users I want to migrate. This account, this account, these accounts, and these accounts. Okay. So let me just click more options. Let me see. Email selected users. Okay. I won't be able to do that. So let me just export the entire CSV file. Okay. Download users. 5 columns available. Okay. Use this. I'll just click on download. Beside, what I just need is the email address of those users. Okay, that's all I need. I don't need anything more. Okay, so these are the users. This is the first name. So what do I need? These are the users that I need. I'll just click on copy. I'll go to the other Excel and then put it. So this is the source. I forgot to tell us. So the username is the source tenant. Okay, that's the source tenant, and the email address is a destination for this very migration process. So means this, so is remaining. I will need to get Joanna. Okay, and then the last person will be David. think David is also part of the project. Okay, so I have to get David. Okay, David. So remember, this is the source tenant and this is the destination tenant. All right. So I'll just go back to Microsoft 365, the admin center, and then I'm going to export the Microsoft 365 users as well. Just click on done save, and then I'll have to export these users. Export users. Export users. Continue. So I've exported the users. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'll just select the ones that are relevant for this purpose. All right. So just delete this. Let me just select everything and then expand. Okay, let me see. Just remove all this. They are not necessary. Including all this as well. They are not necessary. Delete. So the most important things that I need, or the ones I need, is this. Okay, I'll just copy them and then I would arrange them accordingly. So that's no problem. So this, Joanna. Okay, let me see. Control Z. Just to make sure that everyone is there. I still need the other users. This user, I think that's all. Okay, that's all. So they are complete. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 users. All right. So cut, take you here, and next party David. So I'm going to remove this user. This user is not part of the migration. So I just select next up parts David. Okay, and then David is down. David is down, and then I have Joanna. Okay, so this is it. So I'm gonna have to save this very Excel sheet as CSV. Okay, so remember what I said. This is the source and this is the destination. The source tenant, the Google Workspace, and the destination. All right. So I'll just click on File, click on Save As. So I'll just go to Download, click on Download. I'm going to call it tenant CSV. Okay, so I'll just click here and then I'm going to select CSV comma delimited. All right, delimited. All right, so I'll just click on Save. So that is it. That's all we need. Cloud insight.arrow this. Okay, so I'll just remove this. I don't need it anymore. I'll just import this CSV here and then I'll click next. So it's going to request for target delivery domain. Okay, remember the target delivery domain is the domain used in Microsoft 365. Okay, so that is a target delivery domain. So it's very important for us to be able to note that as well. So this is the target delivery domain. I'll just go back here and I have it pasted here. All this information, we are going to leave it as they are. I will then click on next. So this process is going to ask you, after the batch is complete, a report will be sent to the following recipients. You must select one recipient. So I've already selected my tenant admin, the global admin, and then he's going to get the report once the migration is completed. So I'm going to select automatically start migration batch, and here I'm going to also select automatically complete the migration batch. I'm going to select my time zone as well. So my time zone is West Standard. Let me see, West Central Africa Standard Time. Let me see, West Central Africa Standard Time. Okay, let me just confirm and make sure that there are no other one here. Then I'll go with that time zone. Okay, yeah, that is it. I'll just click on save. So it's creating the migration process, right? So the migration batch creation is successful. So I'll just click on done. So I have a total of 5 users that I want to migrate from source to destination. All right. So I'll click on view details where it's going to validate these user accounts. Okay. It's going to validate this user account, and then this migration process will be completed afterwards. So what we are going to do is I'm going to have to still pause the video, okay, so that this migration process will be completed. So there are different status in terms of migration when carrying out this very migration. The first thing it does is it will it will show provisioning, right? After provisioning, the next thing is going to show is validating, right? So these are the two process you're going to see, and then the other status as well follows. So it will have to provision and then validates, and then the other process also follows. So once the migration is completed, the status here is going to change to completed. Okay, and then you would see data consistency score is probably going to change to perfect, right? And you're going to see the number of items synced. Anyone that was skipped, you're going to see it here as well, the number. And then we can up. Oh, okay. So at first it's going to validate. After validate, it will then provision. Yeah, sorry. So the first thing is to validate. After validating, it will then provision. So you have to always refresh from here. You have to always refresh from here, and then would wait for it. So I'm going to just pause this video, and then we'll come back right after the migration is completed. And also, another thing we'll have to check is we'll just go to the Exchange or the Microsoft Admin Center to check if I have emails already in Outlook. So you can see there are no emails, right? There are no emails. So once the migration is complete, we'll come back and refresh this to confirm if we've received, or if the migration or the emails have been successfully migrated from Google to Office 365. So I'm going to pause the video, and then we'll come back afterwards. All right. So I just refreshed, okay, and then it happens to be that the migration is completed. All right. So don't worry, I'm going to come back to this, and then I'll come back to the status, what it implies. All right. So now you see the item skipped 0, the item synced 68899. Okay, which of course the migration was completed, and you can see data consistency score perfect. Now on the status, it showed failed, right? Now let's just click on any of this. Now you see the error message where it says unable to use primary Gmail forwarding address exception, right? So just part of the migration prerequisites or mechanisms you can actually do, but this does not in any way affect the migration. And yes, of course, the migration was completed, but I will just have to talk about this very error message. Now, this very error message signifies that there are no forwarding or mail routing or mail forwarding rules that was created from Google Workspace to Office 365. Okay, so it's because it did not identify any form of mail forwarding or mail routing rules that was created. All right, that was why it's showing this red triangle. But nonetheless, of course, the migration was completed. So I'll just confirm and verify, all right? So, for example, I want to confirm with my accounts. Look at my account here. I'll just click on the 9 dots, click on Outlook. I'm opening Outlook. Oh, you see? You can see all the emails got delivered. So I even have the last email that I sent from this very account. From this very account, let me check. Okay, you see, this was the last email that I sent, email team, sorry, migration email team, and I copied all the emails, all the user accounts that was migrated from Google Workspace, the emails of all user accounts that were migrated from Google Workspace to Office 365. I place them in copy, and then when I come back here, you see the email was migrated. So yes, that is how you can successfully carry out a tenant or a Google Workspace tenant to Office 365 migration, right? Thanks very much, guys, and please, in a subsequent video, I'm still gonna tell us or show us or talk about the Google Drive to OneDrive for Business migration. All right. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope this very session has been very, very informative. And then thanks very much and stay tuned.